versus the Lightning Network versus, apparently. So this is from Elvis Mercury. Got posted yesterday. But it's funny because this has just been talked about in the, I want to say in like the internet zeitgeist for a while now, but apparently if you've never heard of the detonator theory, let me just clear everybody in. Detonator theory is an online conspiracy theory that asserts due to coordinated intentional effort, the internet since 2016, 2017 has consisted mainly of bot activity and automated generated content manipulated by algorithmic creation to control the population and minimize organic human activity. Obviously, it's Wikipedia, so it's going to take a heavy side on, calling it a conspiracy theory, so take that into account. But Elvis Mercury brings up a really good question here. He says, basically, detonator theory has probably been nonsense, but it will probably stop being nonsense pretty quick because the tools for ruining the internet got a massive upgrade, and people will eventually figure out that at scale. We already got a taste of this on SN, in fact, with bot behavior being given as a prominent reason for muting Stackers in a recent discussion. And he's bringing this other post from Stacker.News that everybody chimed in. I chimed in on it. Maybe SN is on both tails of this one. I'm more likely target for bot activity owning. Anyway, long sense, he says, if BS bot engagement isn't what we want, then what do we want? How can we get it? Keyan, first I want to pitch this over to you. I have my own thoughts, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because you actually deal with this on a day-to-day basis, or you don't, or I don't know.
I don't really.
But I'm sure you've thought about this.
Oh, I think about it. I mean, I shared a one-sentence thought in here where I have been thinking about this, and it's because we, on one hand, we are incentivizing bots because people can earn money by creating content. On the other hand, we disincentivize bots because it costs money to gain the opportunity to get paid for content. So my take is, or my optimistic take is, the bots that we get will be higher quality bots than normal bots would be, than bots on, say, a platform that's free. And because they're getting paid, they can maybe reinvest the money they make into making their bot better, and so we get a better bot. That's like and you can kind of it's like the same thing applies to human beings. Like our hope is we get higher quality contributions, and so we hope we get higher quality bots. If we don't want bots, then what do we want? I mean, I personally don't. I personally want to connect with other people. I like hearing other people. I want to hear other people's thoughts. I want to be able to imagine what created a thought, and a person, like the perspective they developed it from.
Yeah, where that idea got accepted in them.
I get kind of bummed out when I encounter what I think is an AI written post or an AI bot or.
People are busy.
Yeah, I know. You can make excuses for your AI use. And I think it's fine. But for me, it kind of upsets me. So what I want is engagement with other thinking beings. I think that's Elvis's point, though, is that eventually his perspective is eventually these beings will be thinking, will be actually not just kind of these echoes of old internet posts, but instead actual thinking machines.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
And so I think that is, that might be, I might have a different feeling about talking to a machine that is actually sentient and actually does have a point of view that helps me grow as another thinking being. But we're not there yet. Most of the AI usage is kind of gross.
What do you got?
Okay, from this quote, he's talking about there being, without those frictions, we are going to need new ones. Verified identity or paid skin in the game in some form is the likely outcome. So, Stacker.News, do you see any place in the future where, like Darth Coin's whole theory is you pay to post, when somebody signs up for Stacker.News, I'm just thinking, is there a buy-in to participate? To start the game?
No, not likely at the site level, but we are going to allow territory founders to do that.
Yeah.
where they say, in order to participate in this community, you have to it's like staking is the term, to stake some meaningful amount of money, and in the case where you participate poorly, the founder of the territory can take that money from you.
Oh wow!
But if you want to, if you participate well and you leave the territory, you can gain that stake back.
Yeah.
That's kind of So you can kind of you can raise the bar to entry arbitrarily, and like Car and I have talked a lot about his territory. He has a 1,000 sat posting costs.
Yeah.
And he does that because he only wants really high quality things. And
I usually zap back either from my own personal post or from Pleb Lab.
Yeah,
We'll zap back the 1,000.
Yeah, so that's kind of staking.
And if it's not a quality post, we won't zap it back.
So like right now, the posting fee is like
works well enough. Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, different territory founders are using different fee rates to kind of experiment. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and I would say you probably are more likely to get body posts on low cost territories.
Right. Low cost, but also like
Later, Oliver.
But also like the more like generic like topics, right? So right now territories are like very broad.
Yeah.
But in the future they will become more attached to very specific things.
That is the hope. And then that might also deter bots who are probably less likely to niche down. But this is kind of the point of Elvis Mercury, is that bots are going to get more powerful faster than they ever have before.
Yeah.
I think there is such thing as a dead internet theory. I think I saw it first, and I think Adam Curry was the first one to bring this to light, at least for me, who I first heard the first one selling off on about it. He was talking about it on the podcast side, like how a lot of these, whether it's Spotify or some of these other platforms, are just juicing the numbers, for ad revenue. And I think Adam Curry first spotted that like maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but you can already kind of feel like that's already happening. But that's also happening already on Twitter and some of these other social platforms where you're seeing they're just juicing the numbers. But so that's one thing, right? And this is where, like I've said for the longest time, I don't think that matters anymore because of what's coming, what you just said, Keyan. I actually think impact more matters and proof of work. And I actually think that is reflected even in social media too as well. So you might have like pick a famous person who's had a Peter Thiel, right? Like who's had a ton of impact, who's done a lot of amazing things. And so what you're actually seeing is real world engagement that he's actually had in real life. And so therefore his social graph is actually probably real people that are talking, not just bots. But I also see it on the other side where you'll have like a YouTube or something. It'll have like 10 million views. And it's like, there's no way 10 million people saw this. Like, prove to me that actually 10 million people saw this, because I don't believe it. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I see it going. But I do think there is this kind of misconception that these numbers aren't inflated, and I think they are. And I think when I look at Stacker.News, you actually have them all here in the analytics. So if I ever wanted to say like how many people are on here this week, I can literally go there and say like, okay, there was 260 people on this day. This is how many people were snacking. Like, and where's that for Twitter? Where's that for these podcasting apps? Like, where's the actual data? And I don't know where it exists. Maybe it's just behind the scenes. Maybe they won't say. I don't know.
I would guess. So if we take the position that they're honest, there might be like honest reasons to not share the data, which is that they see it as like a competitive advantage to have data that other people don't have, and a lot of businesses treat data that way. And so that's at least one side of it. The other side is they're fudging their data, and then that's why they're not revealing the data because if they revealed the data in full, people could
somebody would investigate it.
People could see the fudging. That is statistically unlikely or whatever, and they could detect that maybe. So that may be why. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. I would guess that people definitely fudge numbers, whether it's like at mass scale. I think I can imagine someone having the motive and someone carrying it out. I haven't looked into it deeply or anything, so I don't really.
That's why it's always surprising to me whenever you see somebody come out of nowhere, and I say nowhere, meaning like, and you see that a lot on YouTube and a lot on podcasts where they just have huge numbers coming out, and people will actually chime in on it in the comments and talk about that kind of stuff. Like I saw it in the music industry too. Like you'd see it in there, and usually that's like a well-coordinated industry effort to make that push. It's like the machine doing its thing. I think it happens in every industry, every ecosystem. So to say that it doesn't happen in the tech space it's far-fetched. Anyways, and rant. But yeah, dead internet theory.
Yeah, I would almost say. I mean, I think there are probably grades or like different types of dead internet theories. Like the Wikipedia article says, coordinated and intentional. I think there's probably like a lower grade conspiracy theory that it's like unintentional and it's just kind of emergent from the incentives on the internet that people create a lot of bots and they fudge numbers, and it's like less. They're not intending to create like a mass fake sentiment or mass fake activity, but they are contributing to a dead internet.
So that was the other thing. So one of the other things, like the other arguments of the dead internet theory, is about how most of the data is just created by like actual content, like web blog posts, all that stuff created by just bots, basically, or for SEO reasons. And I think, and then we were talking about this earlier, but I do think, and I said this earlier too, I do think there's this shift that's happening, or maybe it's just me that's thinking this and a couple other people in the podcasting space, but it does definitely feel like there's oversaturation on the, hey, weekly news, let's talk about all this kind of stuff, and everybody's talking about the same thing. And it almost feels like there's a shift, or at least the way I'm looking through it now is like maybe there should be more just like evergreen focused content on the actual ideas and stuff that will actually stand the test of time. So more insular than outwards, and that could be over anything. And I think, yeah. Anyways, I think maybe that's where we're going to start seeing a shift, but I don't know.
I think people will always be into the news, but I definitely think there is something. I do think people. I think you're right in that the evergreen stuff is probably relatively underexplored. Like I'll go back and I'll watch. Who's that guy who used to do the PBS interviews?
Oh, you're talking about Charlie.
Yes, Charlie Rose.
Yep.
Yeah, he would do like interviews with, like Steve Jobs and famous writers, and I'll watch those, and it's like, it might as well be today. It doesn't, because they're just talking about ideas.
They're not topical.
Do you know why then getting into the news cycle and commenting on it every week is so? It's the easiest thing to do, and it's like to even participate in this competition at all, you need to like put out something weekly. It's like, well, it's a new week. What's something new we can talk about? Oh, the news.
I'm gonna have another profound idea.
But that's what I'm trying to say, Jenna. Is like maybe that bar is too low now.
Sure.
And we need to shoot a little higher.
Let's beat the machines.
The evergreen stuff means you basically have to like
have experience,
plan a curriculum.
Yeah, you have to have experience.
You have to know something.
You have to know something.
It's like if you did a poetry podcast and you talked about the
latest poems released,
the latest poems or the elements of poetry, and it was just all around poetry. But I listened to Pleb Poet podcast, and I'm not listening to Jana's remarks on California wildfires. I'm listening to like how she talks about elements of a poetry.
Right. Yeah.
Or how to make your voice heard in your poetry. But they're like different segments. They're different segments as opposed to individual, like,
and you just get the like you just get the like weekly news cycle stuff because that's the lowest common denominator.
And I'm not saying Stacker News Live is guilty of that, but like we definitely just cover the top 5 stories of the week. Like I'm not trying to cover anything else.
Well, it's why we do it, because it's low F. I mean, we explicitly started this podcast because we knew that this would be a low effort way for us to have something to talk about it. Because I was already doing the newsletter. Yeah. We basically have the stackers doing a lot of the idea making, and we just have to relay it. And so we're like kind of a repeater for maybe more evergreen ideas.
Because it definitely feels like there's more original posts that make the top 5 than the news. Every once in a while, the news
the news. I mean, I think the news is good to have in there too. I think some people miss, especially in a niche area where the CNN isn't reporting on Bitcoin happenings.